Hi there guys, today's episode of my 10-minute moans, I'm going to discuss what actually happened at the Court of Sessions yesterday with the SNP, what actually happened there and how it came about. And as usual, before we start, if you're enjoying the podcasts, please hit the subscribe button, and if you want notified of future podcasts, hit the little bell symbol. And if you enjoy this one, please hit the thumbs up. And join in the debate with your comments below, please. Enjoying having a wee bit of community interaction, And so, what actually happened yesterday? Well, Lords Carloway, Pentland and Boyd met at the Court of Session to hear an appeal by the SNP ministers, where they claimed they did not have information that was asked for in an FOI, a Freedom of Information. So what was the background and what does that actually mean? What's going to happen going forward? The whole thing centres around what Sturgeon knew about the Salmond sexual assault case that he knew about from back in 2018. And 2018, Alex Salmond was informed that there was several sexual assault claims against him and he was being investigated. 3 weeks after he became aware of this, Nicola Sturgeon referred herself to an independent inquiry about her ministerial conduct. And the reason she'd done that is because she had met Alex Salmond's Chief of Staff and she had at least 3 phone calls with Alex Salmond about this. There was also the debatable meeting that she had at her house where, if you remember, her husband, Mr Morell, who came into the house halfway through the meeting, had no idea what his wife and the then ex-First Minister were talking about in his living room. So she referred herself to an independent board to have a look at her ministerial duties if she'd broken any, the ministerial code. Now, what happened there, the independent body decided that Nicola Sturgeon had not broken the ministerial code, and they issued a heavily redacted report on their findings and the information they had to establish their decision. And if you remember rightly, Sturgeon was celebrating this about going on about her integrity and how almost champion of transparency, despite the fact the documents were heavily redacted. That led 2 weeks later to a Benjamin Harrop issue instigating a Freedom of Information request, where he asked for all the information pertaining to her evidence on this board who found her not guilty of breaking any ministerial code. And he got a heavily redacted response from the Scottish ministers, and that concerned him. So he then took his complaint to the Information Commission. That's their job, to look after all this sort of stuff and FOIs or something in their remit. And they looked at what he received and they actually found in his favour and suggested that he should be able to get a non-redacted version of what he'd asked for in the first place. So basically, the Information Commission said the SNP were wrong. The SNP ministers then, as they were allowed, they wanted to appeal that decision and protect this, whatever it is that's redacted that they don't want anybody to know. And it ended up in the Court of Session. So we get to the Court of Session, and the SNP's defence was that they didn't have the information, which is a bit bizarre. And the Information Commission, they suggested that they must have the information. If they didn't have the information, how could they send out a redacted reply to the man who asked for the FOI in the first place? It's all a bit bizarre, isn't it? That they're going to these levels to protect something in those papers that this man has requested an FOI. Not only did they put out a retracted statement in the first place, they then, once the Information Commission, an independent body, looked at the man's case and decided, well, what he's asked for is fair enough, can you just give him the information he asked for? They've argued that as well. This is this body that's, Nicola Sturgeon was claiming were so transparent. they've so much effort put into protecting whatever it is they don't want people to know, that they've taken it all the way to the Court of Session with an absolutely stupid argument that they didn't have the information in the first place, which they'd already handed out but redacted. So it leads us all to sort of get a bit concerned about what are they actually trying to hide? What information is there about Nicola Sturgeon that the SNP ministers are so desperate to hide? Now, the 3 judges, lords, that looked at this, they took not even half a minute to come back with a verdict that they should be given the information. They have got the information and they should be giving it out. But what they did say is, well, now the SNP can look at other excuses not to put out this information. So, although there was a lot of sort of celebrations last night and yesterday on social media with some people that felt this was a massive win. I mean, it is a win, don't get me wrong, and it highlights the levels that the SNP ministers are prepared to go to protect information, which is obviously not nice. If it was, worthless information that held them in good light and, didn't show anything against them, they wouldn't have bothered. They would have just gave the man his information the twice that they've been asked to do so. But they will be going through all legislation to find other excuses as to why they don't need to fulfil this freedom of information request to its entirety. And I think it's just laughable, the lengths that they're going to and the defence they try to put up in the Court of Session yesterday. They're not dealing with idiots here. They're dealing with some of the biggest lawmakers in the country. And they're trying to defend themselves by saying, we've not got that information, when evidently they have. So it highlights again to anybody of normal mind about how deceitful, secretive this mob that run our country want to be. And Sturgeon's just a joke. I mean, she was literally celebrating the first hearing into her breaking the ministerial code and going on about her integrity. You don't have any integrity. Your party have no integrity. The ministers that run our government have no integrity. You are void of integrity. In this case, that the Benjamin Harrop's, fair play to him that he's been processing and pushing and didn't just take no as an answer when he got a heavily redacted freedom of information response from the SNP ministers. He makes a mockery of these people. But at the same time, they want every single person in politics to be held by a different set of standards to them. So, a bit of a joke, even getting this far, but it's not the end of the road. That doesn't mean tomorrow we're going to get boodles of information coming out from the investigation into her behaviour as a minister and to see if she broke the ministerial code. It simply won't happen. There will be information there that they're trying to protect, and it all goes back to the initial cause of this issue in the first place, and that was the investigation and what led to the investigation into Alex Salmond's sexual assault allegations. And what did and did not Nicola Sturgeon know? Why is that such a secret? Anyway, thanks for watching this latest episode of my 10-minute moans. If you liked the episode, remember to give me a thumbs up. Have a lovely day. We'll see you all again soon.